Blake Rogers, and the case that I researched is Graham versus Scissortail Inc. The decision on this case was concluded in 1981. Some facts of the case: Bill Graham was an experienced promoter of musical concerts, and he entered into an agreement with Scissortail Inc., who represented a recording artist. Scissortail Inc. was a part of a union, and so when they entered into an agreement, they were required to use contracts that the union used. These contracts that Graham and Scissortail signed were these union contracts that Scissortail used in all of their agreements with other people. In these contracts, it was said that any disputes that arose would be arbitrated by the union's International Executive Board. So the contract said that they were entering into a partnership with Bill Graham, and that Bill Graham and Scissortail, and for the musical services in concerts in cities such as Ontario, Oakland, Long Island, and Philadelphia. The Ontario concert had a net loss, and the Oakland concert had a net gain. So there was a dispute that arose between the parties on how the net loss in Ontario was to be allocated, whether it was supposed to be solely in the hands of one party or if it was just supposed to offset the net gain in Oakland. So the main issue that occurred was which party is to bear the loss and whether or not the loss should be allocated against the net gain. The parties were unable to reach a decision on this dispute, so Scissortail filed for a breach of contract, and Graham moved to compel the arbitration, and he won. The arbitrator said that Graham was to bear the losses, and this is good for tax purposes. So then Scissortail appealed, saying that the arbitration provision was unconscionable, and the reasoning for this, even though Scissortail was very prominent and successful in their business, the contract that they signed, the union contract, basically made him adherent. The court found that this was considered an adhesive contract. Only one party had a say in the contract. So even though Scissortail could have and should have reasonably expected that there was a contract provision requiring arbitration, because this was a contract they always used, and so they just thought this would always happen, the arbitration was actually still unconscionable. The court still found that this was unconscionable because the arbitrator would presumably be biased in favor of one party. So since since Scissortail was a part of the union would be biased towards them. So the rationale: adhesion contracts are enforceable except for provisions which contradict adherents' reasonable expectations or are unconscionable. Thank you, and that is all I have.